You've tuned into Heroes Wanted. I am your host, Joe Prim. The purpose of this podcast is to help fathers get unstuck and to engage life with discipline and purpose. This episode was an excellent episode. I really appreciate my friend Griffin Coiner and what he is doing with Stache Salt, but it was a rough one to record. I know I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but from the beginning of January to the end, I was hurting in one way or the other. I don't think a day went by in January that I wasn't taking some sort of drug to help get me through the day. So you will tell I am very nasally and sound down and out in this episode. And Griffin was suffering through some illness as well. We had the Zoom call dropped out a couple of times on us, so you might hear it kind of get patched back together again. The episode will be worth your time as you hear Griffin's story about what he's doing and how his business with Stache Salt was started and where it's going at this point. Again, really appreciate his time. And for all of your grooming, your beard, mustache needs, make sure that you go to StacheSalt.com after this episode. I will leave a link in the show notes so to make it easy on you, but be sure to go check out StacheSalt.com. Like I said, and I mentioned several times in this podcast, I really appreciate Griffin's creativity. I appreciate his heart to share and help out these families of first responders that are injured or lost in the line of duty. And I really appreciate the fact that rather than, like so many of us, donate to a cause, so many small businesses donate to a cause that's at a distance, they're not really involved with it. Griffin and his wife and kids will travel out to these families, share with them, encourage them, talk to them, and then give them a donation. I think that is so much more powerful and so much more genuine in this day and age in which we live. I really appreciate this guy. Once again, go check out StacheSalt.com for all your beard, mustache, and grooming needs. With that out of the way, let's get into it. So, Griffin, for those that don't know you, why don't you tell a little bit about yourself, and then we'll go from there.
All right. My name is Griffin Coiner. I am the owner / mad scientist behind Stache Salt, all the mustache wax and beard products, men's grooming. Recently transitioned from working full-time at the fire department and doing Stache Salt part-time to now doing Stache Salt full-time and just pursuing what we feel God's mission and plan in this life is for us, and that's spread the salt, just to be the salt and light on earth to his kids and to bring as many people into the kingdom as we can.
You skipped over like a lot of stuff, Griffin. So why don't you tell us first a little bit just about maybe getting into the fire department and what that kind of was about and, you know, what that meant to you as service and, you know, kind of a career.
Yeah. The fire department is obviously, it's a very noble career. It's a very challenging, path to go down just as far as getting into the service itself, depending on where you want to work or, what kind of department, or if you work for a city or a county or a state, there's just different requirements. So I've gone through, I think, 3 fire academies to end up at the fire department I was with. Finally, I've gone through all the medical training, I have about 10 years in the fire service. Started out as a volunteer, went part-time, then eventually full-time for a few different places. And it was awesome. I love the fire service. I love the fire department. It's, like I said, it's a noble career. You're on a mission to just help others when they can't help themselves. They never call you because something good happened. They never call you to say, hey, look at this smart thing I did. It's always an afterthought of, oh, crap, that didn't go as planned, or now there's an emergency. We need someone to come fix it. So it's an awesome career. And I loved it. And I kind of just, like I said, been doing Stache Salt. We transitioned from full-time fire department and part-time Stache Salt to now it is just full-time Stache Salt. I prayed a lot of big prayers for a long time, and God asked me to take a big step of faith with those prayers, big steps of faith. And I feel like he was leading me down of trusting him to provide through Stache Salt only and to lead the career that I was so passionate about. So that was just recently in the past couple months. So I'm walking on water every day, one step at a time. So we've transitioned from full-time fire department to full-time Stache Salt, men's grooming, and using that to help the helpers, help other first responder families. So
cool.
Yeah.
So where the heck did Stache Salt come from? How did this begin? You know, it's always amazes me to hear like these stories of how these things just kind of start. Sometimes it's an afterthought, sometimes it's a bet, but it's always interesting to hear how things were from the start, because man, starting out a business is kind of a struggle, but at the same time, it's really exciting.
Yeah. The grassroots of it basically was kind of just messing around and for fun, to be honest. I had some other kind of like just store brand cheapy mustache wax, and we were just messing around with it. And a buddy of mine kind of challenged me to, hey, why don't you see if you can make your own? So I did some mad scientist research and came up with a few different blends and different scents and different holds, and kind of figured out what the ingredients do and kind of put it out there of like, hey, look what I did. And people were like, oh, hey, how do I buy it? So I wasn't really planning on selling anything, but I was just like, all right, well, crap, I guess I need a logo. So I told my wife, I said, she's the artistic one. So I told her, hey, I need a logo. So I need a skull, a mustache, and a fire helmet. So she came up with the logo, and I'm sure you'll see the logo, but it's the skull, a mustache, and a fire helmet. And with that, like I said, I wasn't trying to start anything. I didn't have these grand plans and this big old business plan lined out. It kind of just happened at first. And my old fire chief where I used to work got diagnosed with cancer. And it was kind of right at about the same time as this started doing well and selling some tins and getting some momentum. I was like, well, I wasn't trying to start anything. So just right away, let's use this to give back to his family, because they were struggling with the bills, and it just seemed like a natural fit. So that's where our mission has kind of started, and that's where it stayed for the past 4 years of Spread the Salt. And that's to help the helpers, to help those that are in need. I had this conversation earlier. The first responder community in general, they're so used to helping other people. They're so used to going and fixing other people's problems that they don't like to ask for help themselves. So it's out of their comfort zone. It's out of just normalcy of, hey, I need help too. And I saw that need. So that's that is what we've been doing for the past 4 years. A part of every sale, we set it aside. And whenever there's a substantial amount, or what we feel is a substantial amount, and there's a need, we try to fill that need and just donate to as many families as we can.
That's awesome. Do you have a number on how many families you've been able to help out and impact over the last 4 years?
I'm sure there is a number somewhere. It's not always monetary donations. Like we've done stuff for the families of guys, like friends of mine or other people that have passed away, and all right, the family's there. Let's do a patch drive for his son, or so we get fire department, military, police, patches, challenge coins, T-shirts, all that kinds of stuff from all over. We've gotten them from all over the world, really. So sometimes it's stuff like that. We had another first responder. His son was actually diagnosed with a rare brain tumor. Obviously, 8-year-old doesn't need mustache wax. So what we did is I created a custom chapstick that his favorite ice cream flavor was strawberry. So we did a strawberry chapstick, and we used all those funds to donate towards their family. And so just like I said, it's been cool because we're not tied down to any one organization or like hey, on this day of this month, we have to give X amount every single time. We started out just with pure intentions of just, hey, this is what we have to give, and this is what we're going to do. So no obligation from whoever out there saying, hey, you have to do this or that. It's kind of just our own, hey, whenever there's a need, we're just going to try to fill that need.
Yeah, and I like it. Having that freedom there allows you the freedom to do something totally cool and kind of off the wall like that, where to help out that young boy with the strawberry lip balm. It's, I like the fact that your personality, Griffin, gets to go into this stuff, and you're very outgoing and very generous person, and I like to see when people can use that creativity and their personality and kind of mix the two together to spread out to the world. It's kind of a lethal combination.
Yeah, it's been cool. Like I said, I didn't want to be tied down or obligated to any one cause or any one sort of, this is the only thing that we give to or donate towards. Like we said, the whole thing started just out of wanting to help somebody. So if there's a new way to help or something we haven't tried yet, I mean, let's make it happen. Whatever's the best fit at the right time. Cool.
So you have a career that's something that you worked on and a real passion for you, something that it's important to you. That it's kind of actually become a big part of your identity and who you are and how you live and who your brothers are and who you hang out with and stuff. And then you have the Stache Salt kind of comes out from there. How in the world do you get from having this career that you like and having this side hustle or this little business that you're growing up to come to a decision to sell your house and to shove off in a completely different direction that kind of I'm sure surprised a lot of people that know you and didn't surprise a lot of people that know you?
Yeah, it's been an interesting split. It seems right down the middle for sure. How I got to that point, like I said, it was a lot of big prayers. I never sat down with a business plan to say, all right, once I make X amount of money, I'll be able to leave the fire service and I'll be ready to go and I can go do my own thing. And that was never the plan. I mean, I planned on being an old guy and retiring from the fire department and earning my stripes over the next 20 years. And I mean, that was my plan, but God had a different plan for us. And I guess it is through obedience and just faith and just trust that I prayed a lot of big prayers, specifically, hey, God, if you're going to grow this thing, I want it to be in a way that it's only explainable that you made it happen. That was a prayer that I prayed a lot of times. Like, hey, I'm not a businessman. I didn't have this big master plan. If I'm willing to do the work and I'll put my boots on the ground and I'll hustle as much as I can. But if this is going to grow, it's going to be by your hand, God. And after months of praying that and some things that came up, it was just a very clear line in the sand of this is what you're supposed to do. And I took that step and I'm still walking on water today. So
that's awesome. And having, a few years ago, kind of took a similar, faith step, leaving Illinois for Texas without a job and without a house and just kind of saying, okay, this is what you want us to do. Let's do it. What's the hardest part? Was the hardest part saying that you're going to do it, or was has it been, I think a lot of people misunderstand and they look at people that are doing something like you do by faith and think either that's easy for them, or they think, well, that's good for them, but not for me.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in that same boat. I mean, everybody has, especially with social media these days, everybody sees the highlight reel of insert person here. Everybody sees what they want to see or what people want them to see. So I think, with our business, I think probably for some people is like, oh, well, he's doing this, or I don't put how much we make and all that. Like I said, this was never about money. It was a tool to help people. And for some people, it's like, oh, yeah, well, it's easy for you to leave the fire department because you have your other business or you have your other job. Or it's like, yeah, but I mean, I'm still leaving a career that I was so passionate about and loved for the past 10 years. I think it is easy for people to say, oh, well, they could do it, but I could never do it. And I mean, at some point when it's so clear, at least for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, the path was so clear, just between different Bible studies and prayers and just specific instances that happened in our life over a couple of month period of like, hey, this is exactly what you're supposed to do. You don't get to see 10 years from now. You don't get to see 5 years from now, but here is your next step. You get to see one step ahead, and I need you to take that one so that way when the next one after that comes up, you're in the right position. But I had to take that first one, and it was scary. I'll be honest. It was terrifying. But you don't know unless you take it.
Yeah, I think, like you said, there's this misconception, especially with social media, that I try not to feed into it, and maybe sometimes I do inadvertently feed into it just because that's what we share on social media. But there's this misunderstanding that if somebody's doing something, it must be easy for them. And I remember, when we made our move, I recorded a podcast that kind of had a lot of hits at that time because it was, sometimes it sucks. And it was just, it's not easy to take a step of faith. And that's why it's a step of faith. And that's why, like last year, my motto for the year was, without fear, there is no risk. And without risk, there is no reward. Because without the fear being present there, without a real fear, then you're not risking anything. There is no faith involved if there's not some sort of fear of the unknown, of not knowing what's going to happen or where you're going to end up or how things are going to fall into place or where you're going to end up. And that's what makes it faith. And that's what makes even those that it seems like it's water off a duck's back or they got it figured out or they got a plan or something like that. I guarantee you, anybody that's truly stepping out in any sort of faith is going to have those moments where it looks like everything's going wrong and things are tough and you're not sure about what's going to happen tomorrow. But there's also this beautiful clarity but I know I made the right choice.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there was no, I say, unfortunately, there was no parachute on this. I mean, it was full on bailing out, fully trusting that God was going to provide and take care of us. And I'm happy to say that He is. Like you said, it's not faith if it doesn't, if there's no risk and if it doesn't cost you something. Like I was saying for this, it was a huge decision, obviously, to leave the fire department. And I felt like for us specifically, it was like jumping out of an airplane with no parachute. Like there was no safety net. There was no nothing. It was, hey, this is God or it's not. And sink or swim, fly or crash. But it was very clear that He was in control. It was very clear that we were being led this direction. I'm not going to say like some big old voice of booming voice, God said, "Thus saith the Lord, do this." It was like, no, that's not how it happened. But it was very clear just through, like we said, through prayer, through reading, through different encounters, just that this is the direction that He was leading us. And it's been a couple months, and I'm not going to lie and say everything is smooth sailing and I've got it all figured out and everything is highlight reel. But I mean, I haven't missed a meal. My family is happy. My family is healthy. we're able to give and help people. We're able to spend more family time together. But like you said too, a lot of people don't understand, and it has been an interesting split. It seems pretty right down the middle of people that are in full support of, hey man, that's awesome. I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you. Let me know if I can help. I'm here for you. And the other half of basically just being like, you're not one of us anymore. Like you're not in the club. You're not one of the cool kids. You can't sit at our cool kid table anymore. So nobody's said those exact words, but that's kind of the vibe from some people.
How do you deal with that, Griffin, or how are you dealing with that?
Honestly, I've had a couple rough days. Just people that you go into extreme circumstances with as a firefighter and just in life. And you think people are there for genuine reasons. Come to find out that some are only there due to common interests. It's like we've talked about before. It's helped me, I guess, discover or figure out that there needs to be more of a vetting process, more of a trustworthy how to get people on your inner circle. You don't go all in with everybody just because you share a common interest or just because you share a uniform or just because you spent some time with somebody. There needs to be a legitimate some sort of vetting process of, hey, are you worth investing in? Am I allowing you to invest in me? And how is this really going to work? Because not that there's anything wrong with surface level friends. Hey, not everybody needs to be on the inner circle. But just automatically assuming that everybody should be on the inner circle is not the way it should be.
No, I think what was part of our conversation in that 12-hour walk was talking about, how Jesus, even Jesus picked out his 12 disciples. It's not like it just was by default or that they were of a certain profession or a certain region or anything. That they were a very diverse group, but he picked them out one by one, and those were his guys for the time of his ministry. And I think that, like you're saying, it's a good word of caution to be careful who you 100%, and at the same time, look what happened with Judas, right? Ultimately, he betrayed Jesus, and he had the opportunity to be the closest to Jesus, right? But in the end, He betrayed Jesus. So I think there's also that part of the human condition that if you are going to have relationships with people, there's always going to be a risk there. That's just part of making friends and part of, but I do believe, like you're saying, that vetting those people that are part of your inner circle, people you really trust, people you really look up to, people you really are beyond that level of just respect, right, for what they do and who they are and how they carry themselves, but that kind of deeper relationship where I guess it starts to be some vulnerability and accountability and stuff involved because you're close to that person and you trust them and their thoughts on things is wise words, Griffin.
Yeah, and on the same token, it's interesting to see who you thought wasn't on the inner circle or who was not one to be trusted or just was kind of on the fence. And then when stuff goes down, they're the first ones to jump in and say, hey, what do you need? So it's been an interesting experience for sure. Like you said, it's just the human condition. No matter how trustworthy someone is, I mean, people could fall or people could rise to the occasion just as well. So.
Yeah, it's always interesting when there's big changes like that to see who around you and how they react. That's one thing I've been talking about in the podcast is the expectations of others and living to the expectations of others. And the moment you step outside of that box or those boundaries that they've either kind of bound you by or you've allowed them to bind you into that group, two things happen. Number one, you experience freedom in a completely different way. You experience freedom to all of a sudden completely express who you are, what you are, and that you're just doing something different, right? But at the other part of that I think is just as powerful, if not maybe more so, is like you just said, you quickly find out who is for you and who is against you. And you don't really know until you step outside of what everybody else's expectations are of you. Until that moment that you step out, it's kind of a secret. You really don't know.
Yeah. Who you think has your back and who doesn't. Part of all this big praying and just experience as well is I feel like God was breaking me of an identity of a first responder, of a firefighter, of, hey, like I said, I am part of the club. I'm in the cool kids club, or I'm part of the crew. I have the same uniform. God was really working on my heart to be fully dependent on him and no one else. He didn't want me to find my identity in a career. He didn't want me to find it in a group of people or where I live or what I do or what I drive. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that I'm fully dependent on him. And I feel like, we had numerous occasions where people that you thought were close or whatever, end up stabbing you in the back or kicking you to the curb. It's just like, just brutal blows again and again. You're just like, man, like, what happened? Like 2 weeks ago, everything was good, but now I don't have the same T-shirt, and now, but it's just been interesting. So it was also a good part of that, of walking in faith. And hey, anyone that wants can hit me in the back with a bat if they want to, but God's going to carry me, and that's who I identify with. I identify as him. I'll answer for whatever I do to him. I'm not worried about what people say.
Yeah, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about, about the risk of stepping out in faith and the fear, because there is an unknown. And like you're saying, whether that unknown be not knowing where I was going to find a job or not knowing where I was going to live, or whether that unknown is who is for me and who is against me. And then there's this constant evolving and shifting around you. And, for different people, it's going to be different. But, going back to that idea before of that podcast and talking about it, at times it sucks. At times it's rough, and you're trying to hold it all together, and you're certain in the choice that you made. But, and you can see a promising opportunity or a promising future that, sort of a vision. Sometimes God kind of gives you or puts in your mind or in your heart of, no, I got you, this will work out and this will pan out, but it doesn't happen in your time. Usually it happens in his time.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the hard thing is, stepping out of our timelines and what we think makes sense. And he doesn't work on our timelines, that's for sure. But like you just said, or something that was for me in the whole transition was stepping out in that faith. You always hear, I've heard it since I was a little kid growing up in church, the peace of God, the peace that passes understanding, all that kinds of stuff. But until I was all in, like fully walking with Christ, hey, I'm dependent on you. You are in control. I'm not in control. I'm believing you. This doesn't make sense at all, but I'm going to do it. It was truly an unexplainable peace of, this doesn't make sense, but I trust you and I'm good with it. Like, it sounds crazy, but I'm good with it because I know you're in control. So it was just a whole nother experience with Christ that I've never experienced before that.
Yeah, that's powerful. And you do that this time, and then it's like lifting weights or any sort of thing that you do over and over and repetitively. You can see how now next time this could be a little easier. And the next step of faith that gets thrown your way is just a little bit easier, or not easier, right?
Yeah.
But taking that step of faith or that understanding or having that belief is just a little bit easier for you. And that's right there is powerful, because you're constantly building yourself up then, or God is constantly building you up to have more and more belief in him and more understanding of who he is as a provider to you and to your family, and reminding you constantly how little bit of control that you have over things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like each step is preparation, because whatever the next one is, whatever the next step is, I don't know what that is yet. I was only asked to take this one step at a time, but I know without this step, I wouldn't be able to reach that next step. So in this step, I've had to learn, I've had to prune, I've had to just adapt. And I'm confident that without the stuff that we're going through now and the stuff that we're having to overcome, and just like, but also the things that we're receiving, just the blessings and all that, it wouldn't be the same at the next, whatever the next step is, or whatever the next process is, or whatever the next whatever is. It wouldn't be the same had we not been in this one to be able to prepare for whatever's next. So it's definitely a season.
Yeah, a complete season of complete and total change. How was the family holding up, and how is the family dealing with this, the kind of craziness, the chaos of losing normalcy?
So my wife works on Stache Salt full time with me. So her every day was already running and doing the business while I was at the fire station. I'd come home and we'd link back up and keep going. Obviously, a lot's changed in the world the past couple of years. So this year, or last year, we started homeschooling as well. So the kids were home. Mama was already home. So now I'm home. And man, it is crazy, and there's crazy times, and now all of us together all the time does have moments, obviously, just like any family. But I can tell you that we've never been closer. We've never spent so much time together. We've never been so in sync. It's like we're doing it as we were designed. We were designed to work as a family unit. And I don't know how to describe it other than it's how it's supposed to be. So. And it's awesome. I'm very humbled. I'm very blessed that we get to do that. I don't take it lightly that I get to be here with them, spending every day, getting to show them what we're doing, why we're doing it, what we're building actually gets to help, and how it helps people, and just having them involved with it means the world. So it's been awesome.
I know you downplay it a little bit, Griffin, and talk about when you talk about the business, and you know how. And I know it's because it brings you joy, but there was a lot of hard work that went into growing this thing and making it become what it has become. That doesn't just happen overnight. And with your wife involved, I know she's put in a lot of hard work and a lot of hours. And I'm not going to say, in a sense, you earned the opportunity also to get to a point where you could sell your house and work full time on your business, and work in the situation where you're so happy right now to be able to spend the time with your kids and feel like you're living the way life was intended to be, as a family unit, working together, spending time together, with one goal, with a common goal that everybody's working towards. That didn't just happen by itself. It didn't just happen overnight. It didn't just happen because you guys thought it would be a great idea. When you first started out, you didn't see it for what it could end up being, perhaps, but you continued to push through the hard work, the efforts, the learning, the figuring things out. It made something of it. And I think that's impressive to me. I mean, I think that's a great thing, and should be an inspiration to everybody else out there to start to figure out a way where they can serve in their community, where they can serve other people, where they can start some sort of business to get themselves perhaps eventually into a situation like you were able to get yourself into, because otherwise we're having a completely different conversation right now, Griffin.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it goes back to the same thing we already talked about of, you can only take one step at a time. And I mean, I guess almost 4.5 or 5 years ago, starting this, if I was at the fire department 5 years ago and someone said, hey, start this business and leave the fire department, I would have said, no way, no thank you, you're crazy, and walked away. But we took one small step at a time, and it grew slowly. Nobody saw my wife and I packaging orders at 1 and 2 in the morning while kids are asleep and then waking up and going to shift. And nobody sees that part of it. Nobody needs to see. Nobody wants to see. They want to see, like I said, the highlight reel. But without those steps along the way of the sacrifice and the late nights and the long days and all that stuff, it wouldn't have put us in a position, like you said, to have that even be an option now. And I wouldn't have taken it seriously, or I wouldn't have been interested, I guess, because I hadn't put in the sweat equity yet. I hadn't put in the time. I hadn't put in the investment yet of the time and the effort and the resources to make it a reality or to make it even possible. So 4 years ago, having this conversation would have been like, hey, I need you to make some mustache wax so you can leave the fire department. I would have said, no, thank you. But now, but because of what we've done, it put us in that position, and I realize what we're supposed to do now. And like I said, it's not just making mustache wax. It's not just making beard stuff. It's not just making men's grooming. We're building a community, and we're building a tool to give back to other people that we wouldn't normally be able to give back to, that we wouldn't have the reach to give back to, that we wouldn't even know existed, to be honest. I had a real hard, or I guess like a aha moment when I was thinking about leaving and praying through it all and talking with my wife about it and talking with my brother about it. I had a real moment of, hey, if I never get on that fire truck again and the bell goes off, the guys are going to hop on the truck. They're going to go handle the emergency. The fire's going to go out. The car wreck's going to get fixed, whatever it is. The call will go and the call will be handled. The fire truck will roll and it'll be done. Business will be handled. If we don't help the families that we're helping through Stache Salt, who will? So it was kind of just God using that as a way to just kind of transition my role of needing to be on the truck and fix all the problems to now I'm in a position that we're gonna help the helpers. We're gonna give back to the first responder families that are struggling with medical bills or illness or whatever it may be. And if we're not doing that, who is? So it kind of changed my mission. It kind of changed my point of view of just, hey, I may not be riding on the truck, but I'm still heading in the same direction.
Yeah. And one thing, you know, a lot of men out there right now are struggling with their idea of purpose and what their purpose is. I think because of many changes in our society. And I think that purpose will always come back to serving others. And that's why one of the things I think is the coolest thing of what you're doing with Stache Salt is, and you've repeated it over and over and over again, is the opportunity to give back to other people. And whether they be first responders in your case, or whether they be somebody else in somebody else's case, I really believe that finding your purpose begins with serving others.
Absolutely. I can't speak for everybody, but I know when I get too focused on me or myself or just what I have going on, it kind of loses its interesting. It loses its, I guess, flair or what's appealing about it. If you're doing all this just for kudos or cool points or just to have another car in the garage, or if you're doing it just for whatever the purpose may be, I think you're missing out on what could be. I'm not saying that. Like I said, we give. We're not shy about saying we give. I'm not shy about saying that's what our mission is. I'm not shy about sharing it on social media. And I say that to say I don't share things. I don't share giving. I don't share the story of who and why and all that because I want a pat on the back. I don't do it because I need somebody's recognition to say, hey, attaboy, good job, good for you doing that. I do it so people who are buying our products and who are buying into what we're doing can come alongside us and see what their money and what their purchasing power is going towards. I don't care if someone comes along and says, "Hey man, you have a cool truck." It's like, okay, that's cool, but it's more than that. It's a way that we can go take these deliveries to who we're going to or whatever it may be. I don't know where I'm going with that
or pulling an RV.
Yeah, or pulling an RV, either way.
Right?
Yeah.
It goes back to, see, there's little things like that, Griffin, that if you didn't have that truck, it would have been one more change that maybe would have had to be made, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I don't want to beat up on you too much here, Griffin, but, you know, this whole RV life thing is, you know, kind of trendy, and it kind of seems a little bit like you're just jumping on the trend train. I don't think that's the case, but I need to bust your balls just a little bit about it. What's the RV life been like? How have you guys adapted?
Like I said, as a family, we try to spend a lot of time together. And when I was at the fire department, kind of like our, I guess, monthly getaway or whatever is we would go camping all the time. We love going camping. We'd sleep in a tent just on the ground and bring our little barbecue and go find a river and hang out for a couple days doing nothing in nature. When all this kind of came about, we'd be interested in campers a little bit. I think Mama's earned her stripes sleeping on the ground enough times that she deserves her own bed when we go camping. But I feel like part of this whole journey and this whole, I guess, experience or everything that we're still going through, still walking through, God was asking us to be fully dependent on him. He wanted us mobile to be able to go help his people, to build a community. Our house wasn't even for sale. We never listed it. It was still I was still needing to do baseboards, and I just finished retiling our shower. So I had no plans on moving. But like I said, we started homeschool this year, and my brother's family just moved to the mountains, and we went and visited them. We were up in the mountains for a couple days with no service, and it was awesome. And we were kind of looking around up there, and we got to this one lot that just happened to be for sale. This beautiful view, no service for days, and my phone goes off. It hadn't gone off in days, and it goes off, and it says, "Hey, do you want to sell your house?" And it was a buddy of mine who's a fireman that actually is a realtor as well. So our house wasn't even for sale, and he just, a random out of the blue text said, "Hey, do you want to sell your house?" So, like anyone, I guess, anything's for sale for the right price, right? So I said, if they want to go look at it, we're out of town right now, have them go look. And they went and looked and made us an offer. And I was like, I don't think that's going to quite make it worth it to us. So I didn't think much of it, got back home, was home for another week or two. And they called us again, said, "Well, how about this? We offer you this much." I said, "Okay, well, I guess we're moving." But like I said, the house was still under construction. We never planned on moving. With all of these things, God asking us to be fully dependent on him and not worry about a house or a neighborhood or any of those kinds of things. We found this camper. It's like, hey, let's do this on the road. We're mobile. If we're doing just the business, we're homeschool, so we're not tied to one area for school district or anything like that. Let's go and just do this business on the road. And this isn't a long-term forever thing, but I feel like we were talking about before, the stepping stones, this is it's an investment in our future of just lowering costs, lowering expenses, being mobile, getting everything, all our ducks in a row, all of everything squared away, so that wherever God wants us to plant down, hey, now's the time we can go. We don't have to wait, or, hey, I want you to move here. All right, well, now we have to sell a house and move and do all that kinds of stuff. So I feel like it was just, I guess it is trendy and it is cool. There's a whole community of people out there that are full-time RVers and all that kind of stuff. We're kind of doing it, I don't want to say just necessity. There is some fun to it. There's some excitement. But it's also very real going from a house to a camper with 2 kids and 2 dogs and all that and a full business, and all that. But so far, so good. The kids love it. They think it's just one big adventure. And I'm not going to lie and say that every day is sunshine and bunny rabbits in a small little space like that. But they absolutely love it. We have enjoyed it a lot. It's brought us all closer, not just in proximity, but just spending quality time together. Yeah, if you're going to go start a business, I don't recommend you just sell your house and sell everything and move into a camper instantly. It's probably not what most people should do. But for us, it was the perfect thing at the perfect time.
That's awesome. Yeah, it seems like I know a lot of people around me are selling their houses and moving into an RV and just kind of, taking a break from things. And I was just talking to a guy today, young guy, and they just had such a good offer on their house they couldn't really refuse, and ended up getting an RV or just traveling around. And same thing, they absolutely love it. And he's still working at the same place, and he's got 2 young kids, but they love it. They love the freedom it's given them right now, and the opportunities, and I should say the options for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's been a major plus of just it's freedom. Hey, like a couple weeks ago, we're kind of parked out at my brother has some land here in North Texas, and we were parked here, and he called me, hey, can you go ahead and shut down my well and all this? It's about to freeze for the next couple of days. I was like, well, shoot, let's just drive somewhere warm. Like we'll take care of your stuff and get it all squared away. But then why do we have to sit here and be freezing for no reason? Like, let's just go somewhere nice. So we did. We were free to do whatever we want. So we just loaded up and left.
Nice. So you guys have a big travel schedule for this spring? Are you guys going to be traveling around a lot, or are you guys going to kind of stay put in one spot, or what does that look like? What's the roadshow look like?
We're going to be kind of crisscrossing the country a couple times. We're about to head west. There's actually a big off-road race that we're going out there and doing some Stache Salt stuff with. Hopefully help some of those guys out in the desert keep their beards and mustache and everything good. So we're going to a race for a little bit. We're going to Southern California after that just to meet up with some family for a few days, kind of regroup. We're going to head up to Colorado. We have a couple events that we're planning out right now. One of them will be in Georgia. We're looking around the May timeline. We have another event in Indianapolis that will be in April. We're getting requests daily, not daily, almost every day to come here and come there, and hey, come to this event, come to this event. So we're trying to figure out what makes the most sense as far as who we're donating to and what families we can visit. We feel like donating, we don't like to just send a check in the mail and say, hey, good luck, best wishes, and we'll just send you a balloon and hope you feel better. Get well soon kind of thing. We want to come alongside people and come alongside these families and let them know that, like, hey, we know what you're going through and we know it sucks. And like, this isn't just a get well soon card. Like, this is investment in you and your family, and we're here alongside of you. So the more of that we can do in person, the better.
That's awesome. So as busy as you are and as much chaos as you've had in the last few months, somehow I was able to wrangle you in for 12 hours to hang out here in the development where I live and just walk for 12 hours. As crazy as your life was before that day and as crazy as your life's been after that day, I'm really grateful myself that I had that 12 hours to hang out with you, Griffin, to get to know you. I was thinking about this afternoon that I don't think that I've probably spent 12 hours, not even contiguous hours, but 12 hours total with another guy for a long, long time. So to be able to spend that amount of time with you, just kind of getting to know you and learn about you and learn all the different things that were going on and were in this, especially during this time of transition, was really cool for me. And to get to know you and kind of build a friendship off of very little, off of a couple of guys that chatted a few times on social media, and that 12 hours that really kind of was a very, very quick way to blossom a friendship out of very little. So if you would just share a little bit of what your experience was on that 12-hour walk and what you thought about it and what you learned from that.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I was thinking about that yesterday too. And I was thinking it was the perfect walk or ruck or just struggle at the perfect time. Like you said, everything I've known for the past 10 years was basically flipped upside down and shaken in a snow globe the past 5 months. And it's been balls to the wall from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed to wake up and do more of whatever it is for that day. And I saw that you threw out that invite to come do that 12-hour ruck. And normally I would have just passed over it. No big deal. Hey, I'm not going to be able to make it. Obviously, I have every excuse in the world. I'm busy. I got this. I got that. I'm moving. Apparently, I didn't know I was moving, but I was moving. And I had all that stuff going on. But it was the perfect thing at the perfect time. Like you said, we had chatted a handful of times on social media, and we tried to plan a few meetups, actually, like, hey, I'm going to be in this area, let's meet up, or I'm going to be in this area, let's meet up. And it never worked out for whatever reason, but that happened a couple times. And then I think that was the one, I know, at least for me, that when I needed it, I needed a good brother. I needed a friend. I needed just someone I could trust, and just iron sharpens iron. And I was grateful that God gave us that time together. I didn't know what to expect when you sent the flyer out. I was thinking like 50 or 60 dudes were going to show up, and it was going to be this whole big shindig. But I think it was perfectly planned that we got to spend that time. We got to invest in each other. We got to learn about each other. We got to really know a lot very fast. And I'm grateful for that all along while walking those hills for 12 hours. Was no joke. I know at the end of that, my ankles were destroyed for like 2 days. But it's funny. I was talking about the struggle. I didn't wear those boots again for a couple of weeks because, like, in my head, I was somehow pissed at those boots. I was like, it's your fault. That sucked. It's your fault my ankles were hurting. But I put them on again, and I went for a walk yesterday out in the woods here. And I was like, man, I could really go for some struggle again sometime. Like, I don't know what it is about just overcoming, or it's sucking so bad and just pushing through it and just knowing that you can. But there's an achievement factor to that a lot of people aren't willing to be uncomfortable to get to that satisfaction. And I'm grateful that we were able to do that and push each other, because there was a couple times where it wasn't fun anymore, but we were going to finish, and we weren't going to cut corners. So I'm grateful that we had time to do that. I'm grateful that I said yes. Like I said, normally I would have just kind of skipped over it and not pursued it. And then, especially like the night before, I don't remember what we had come up, but something came up. And it would have been super easy for me normally just to be like, man, like something came up, I'm not going to be able to make it. But instead, I woke up at like 3 that morning and drove a couple hours down so that we could start before the sun went up. And it was awesome, man. So I appreciate you doing that. I'm looking forward to doing it again sometime, somewhere.
Yeah, it was crazy. You know, I'm always one that's talking about how there's really no hacks, especially for building relationships with people. You know, they take time, they take investment, they take effort to build relationships. And I think maybe I finally found a real hack for building friendships, Griffin, and that's just walk for 12 hours together. And, you know, it struck me because you pretty quick said that you wanted to do it. And I had one other guy who was really interested in doing it, but had surgery that week and still up until the last minute had wanted to do it, and finally decided last minute that no, he wasn't going to be able to do it because of the surgery. But see, I want people that are listening to understand that these are the people that I want to hang with, and these are the people that you want to hang with. And if you want to hang with that type of people, you got to be willing to do a 12-hour walk. You got to be willing to do a 12-hour walk and invite other people to it. If you're not near Texas here, to do the next one with me. Go out and do stuff, create adversity. That's the only way to grow. That's the only way to become stronger. And that's apparently one of the best ways to build a relationship is through the 12 hours, because I wasn't really sure, to be honest with you, Griffin, what to expect whatsoever. I had a feeling in the back of my mind, either it was going to be super simple or it was going to be ridiculously bad, but I wasn't sure really which direction was going to go. And if it wasn't so hilly here, it probably would have been a lot easier. But man, we had that.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, in your head, it's like, oh man, let's just walk for a long time. It's like, oh, anybody can just walk. That's easy. But yeah, you throw in those hills and then the rocks and all that stuff. And like, it got pretty serious pretty quick. So it was good. Yeah. And I agree that, whether whatever has happened the past couple of months or not, I feel like a better man in general, knowing that we did that and knowing it was hard and knowing that we pushed each other to complete it without cutting corners, without the option of quitting or failure, or like not even thinking about it. It wasn't even an option. Hey, this sucks, but we're gonna push through, and then we'll be better tomorrow for it.
Yeah, and that was one reason I was grateful that you came to do it with me, Griffin, is because either way, I had determined in my mind that I was going to do it, and trying to do something like that alone versus do that with somebody else would be a completely different story, a completely different world of tenacity and struggle to do something like that by yourself. So I was really grateful for that. And, and the other thing I'll share real quick too, is we started at 6, and I would say probably about 5:50, we walked by the front of my house, and we didn't even look at each other. We didn't even suggest it. We just walked right on by and walked down around the corner. It was getting dark. It was starting to get chilly already. And, our muscles were aching, and not until we got to the end and when we turned back around, did we begin to even mention the fact that, we could have stopped there and nobody would have known that we had stopped there. But both of us agreed that nope, but we would have known that we had stopped there. And we went back and probably didn't get back till after 6, but we made a point there. And this is so important to understand that in life, that, you can take the shortcut or you can do the easy way that maybe somebody else isn't going to see, or maybe you can get away with, but in the end of the day, and you are the one that has to live with you day in and day out. And if we had cut that short, even if it was only 5 minutes, I would still be thinking about that right now when we were having this conversation, Griffin.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been the same experience. It wouldn't have been the same sense of accomplishment. It wouldn't have been the same. Nothing about it would have been the same, because we both would have known that, hey, we cheated ourselves. We cheated everyone that we told what we did. It just wouldn't have been worth it. I mean, go a little bit harder, do a little bit extra, and it'll be worth much more than what you think you're saving. Yeah.
I mean, ridiculous, because we would have been an 11 hour and 55 minutes, but that last 5 minutes, that last couple minutes, that last mile, wherever you are, that last rep, that last paragraph that you got to write, whatever it is, do it. Do it. You know who you are, and you got to raise the bar on yourself sometimes too. Well, Griffin, I'll let you go. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. I want you to know for sure that I got your back, brother, and I'm cheering you on and praying for you every day. I really love what you're doing and love the fact that not only that you I want to make sure you understand that I give you credit for a lot of this too. You created the opportunity to be in this position. And so I give you and your wife a lot of credit for where you guys are at right now. But at the same time, being able to step out in faith like you guys have is impressive. And I hope it's an inspiration, and I hope it's a challenge to everybody that listens to this podcast.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I try to get out of my own way. Whenever this is 10 years from now, 20 years from now, however many years from now, I don't want anyone to come to me and be like, oh man, what you did is cool. It's like, no, I just did what I was supposed to, and God did all the work. I just took the steps. So I don't say that as like some half-hearted, like pretending to be a humble guy. Like really, truly, it was hard to leave the fire department. It was hard to leave that passion of mine, but I feel like God has bigger work, and he needed me as a tool. So I hope that through this, souls will be saved, and we'll be able to help more people.
Why don't you share with everybody your website and what you sell and what you guys got going on, so that they can check out your stuff and go buy Griffin's stuff, support his family, and support the people that they're helping.
So the website is stachesalt.com. We have everything from mustache wax to beard oil and care. We have shaving supplies, hair care. We've got all the shirts and hats and stickers, all the cool stuff you could ever need. We've got kids stuff, so your kids can be salty with you. Check us out on social media and just Stache Salt and Facebook. We're talking about putting together some sort of podcast so people can be involved and just kind of follow along. Like we said, we're on the road, and just how we're going to meet with different families and just kind of meet them where we are, and just so we can wrap our arms around them and let them know they're not alone with whatever hard time they're going through. So we'd love you guys to join with us. It's more than it's more than mustache wax. It's the Stache Salt family. And it's a community made possible by the people that support it. So we're grateful for everybody that has caught the vision of what we're doing. Everybody knows someone that has a mustache or a beard. And if you don't, that means you know that someone that shaves or does their hair. So we've got something for everybody. So
that's awesome, Griffin. Thanks a bunch. I really appreciate you, brother. And we'll talk soon. I hope that you found some value in this episode. If you did, be sure to subscribe, share, and review this podcast. And again, go check out StacheSalt.com for all of your beard, mustache, and grooming needs. Dads, are you stuck? Are you feeling lost, frustrated, and lacking a purpose? Are you in a rut, going through the motions day after day and getting nowhere? If I could guarantee to get you out of this rut and have clarity and direction in your life and feel confident in yourself and your decisions and your purpose, would you take me up on that offer? Here's how it works. You work with me one-on-one. We'll meet once a week via Zoom for 45 minutes, and I'll provide for you a personalized plan to get you unstuck and very clear on where you are going. Weekly video lessons so that you can learn what you need to do, assignments to put into practice what you learn, and challenges to get you outside of your comfort zone where growth occurs and confidence is born. And I'll even provide the required books, including my favorite book on leadership, an awesome leather-bound journal, several field notebooks, and supplies that needed for you to succeed delivered right to your front door. Now, there will be effort and sacrifice involved because everything of value has a price. but I will be with you every step of the way with 24/7 support via text so that I can help keep you on task. You will need to show up on time and be prepared for the one-on-one calls, complete the lessons, challenges, and assignments, but don't worry. Where you see uncertainty at this moment, I see your potential. I have been there and have experienced this journey myself firsthand. Now, what happens if you show up on time, prepared for the one-on-one calls, complete the lessons, challenges, and assignments, and you don't have clarity and direction in your life, and you don't feel confident in yourself and your decisions, and you don't find your purpose? Then I will keep coaching you for free until you do. There's absolutely no risk of you not leveling up. This program isn't about change. It's not about evolution. It's about a new you. It's about uncovering the hero that is within you, but has been buried under the years of lies, fear, and expectations of others. Sure, you can do nothing, but you know exactly where that leads. You can do it yourself by reading countless books, watching a bunch of YouTube videos, and be careful, those cat videos are distracting, and listening to hours of podcasts hoping to find something that clicks. But if you're serious about finally taking control of your life, dropping the excuses and becoming the father, husband, and leader that you want to be, let's schedule a strategy call where we can design a plan to get you out of that rut and headed where you want to go. If that sounds interesting to you, drop me an email at jprim@heroeswanted.us. Again, that's jprim@heroeswanted.us. Put strategy call up in the subject line, and I will get back to you, and we will get something scheduled. As always, men, hold fast, and God bless.